Welcome into Cougar Tracks post-game edition as BYU basketball opens up Big 12 play, taking down Kansas State 83-73. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper for KSLSports.com. Great way to start Big 12 play for the Cougars, getting their 10th consecutive victory of the season. The Cougars have the 8th longest win streak in college basketball. They're now 13-1 overall, 1-0 in Big 12 play. Important win for this BYU basketball team as I share some of my post-game thoughts from the win for the Cougars as it took place in Bramlage Coliseum, the Octagon. I thought it was noteworthy, too, how the CBS broadcast noted that it was the first sellout at the Octagon in the last 3 years for an opponent for Kansas State that wasn't Kansas. So BYU, in only their third year in the Big 12, is becoming that team in this league that is a must-see event. In large part because of A.J. Dybantsa, but I find that very interesting because when BYU joined this conference 2 years ago, people thought, can BYU win a game in Big 12 basketball? Now they're a must-see attraction, and there was a lot of BYU fans inside the Octagon. That was pretty impressive to see. But again, 83-73. My overarching thought on this game was that it was a solid, business-like win coming out of a long holiday break. BYU last played on December 22nd. They returned to Provo on December 28th and had a whole week this past week to get ready for Kansas State. But still, a long gap. Coming out of holiday breaks are tricky spots in the college basketball schedule, and I thought BYU passed with flying colors. Honestly, this was a game that was a 10-point win, but it felt like it was more to me. BYU was not threatened in the second half at all. When BYU got about an 8 to 10-point lead in this game, I felt like this was over when it closed out in the first half. There was never really a threat from Kansas State in the second half. BYU was the much better team in this game, and they looked the part. And I thought that was something that is impressive in these spots where still a relatively young team, BYU being led by a true freshman in A.J. Dybantsa. You've got veterans in Richie Saunders and Rob Wright, but still young and coming together with this rotation. And just to show up in a spot where you're the better team on paper, go on the road, though, in your first true road game and act like it and live up to the expectations going into this game, and they did. And I thought BYU played pretty well. There were areas where they are obviously going to want to improve, particularly with turnovers. 19 turnovers in the game for BYU. That led to 17 points off turnovers for Kansas State. If you eliminate that and maybe get around your season average around 10 or fewer turnovers, this is probably a 15 to 20-point win, and BYU wins decisively in this one. Credit to Kansas State for always kind of hanging around in the second half, and it seemed like this game just sat at 8, 9, 10-point lead. It was always in that territory. Both teams scored 38 points in the second half. I thought A.J. Dybantsa in his first Big 12 game, he was ready for the physicality. Now I think it was a little bit frustrating for him that he wasn't getting some whistles, and I will say, I'm not going to always point to the refs, but there were some plays where I'm thinking, man, AJ is getting hammered. Where's the whistle? Where's the foul call? Dybantsa finished with 24 points, 8 of 15 from the field, 7 of 10 from the free throw line. I thought he could have probably had 30 because I thought there were a few opportunities where he should have gone to the foul line a few more times, but something that probably was a little bit frustrating for him was the 7 turnovers. Kansas State played him physical. I thought he responded, though, and navigated the adversity and still was able to lead the way for BYU, and that's a sign of a special player who could still get his on a relatively efficient night shooting the basketball, but the turnovers are an area to clean up. But still, in your first Big 12 game on the road, and this team's first true road game, to get 24 on a night where he probably feels like it's not his finest hour, that speaks to how excellent of a player he is for this BYU team. The big three for BYU combined for 55 points in this one. Rob Wright, another solid night. 18 points for Rob Wright. Richie Saunders, 13 points. He was brilliant on those corner threes right in front of the Kansas State bench. But overall, though, 3 of 11 from 3. Richie's getting the volume. He's got to knock it down at a higher clip. Now, some of those attempts were not the greatest shots from Richie, but when he was wide open in the corner, it was automatic. And maybe the shot selection can improve a little bit. I thought some of those shots were rushed by Richie at times, but still, I liked what I saw from this BYU team. And what I came away really impressed by with this game for BYU, as they had a new kind of rotation. We didn't see Hadim Boop. We didn't see Dominic Diomande in this game. The bench for BYU was 3 guys, and really, if you kind of drill deeper, it was 2 guys. That was Abdullah Ahmed Bidu, former G League player from the Westchester Knicks, and Mihailo Boskovic. Mihailo had his best game of his senior season. When Mihailo started the year, guy couldn't knock down a 3 to save his life. You're thinking, stretch 5, that's not showing up here at all from Mihailo. But quietly, at the end of non-conference play, I don't think there was enough credit given to him of how much he was improving. I thought his shot selection was getting better, and that momentum carried over into today, where I thought he had his best game this season and maybe the best game of his BYU career, and giving a bit of a spark off the bench, not only offensively, but defensively too. 9 points for Mihailo. Really strong performance from him. He had that old school three-point play with the Euro step. Probably should have passed it to Moo Davis. Moo was completely wide open, but it worked out for Mihailo. Led to a 3-point play, and then he knocked down a pair of triples as well. If he gives you that every night, along with 3 rebounds and some defensive contributions, that is big-time production from him. Because you know the big 3 is probably going to get you at least 50 points every game. And then you get some contributions that are around 9 to 10 points from Mihailo Boskovic. Man, that's big-time stuff from BYU. So I thought Boskovic had his best game, or Boskovic, excuse me, had his best game this season. Kind of crazy, too. At the end of the first half, he has a brilliant block, but I look at the final stat sheet. They're not giving him credit for the block. How is that not a block shot? I thought it was a fantastic play from Mihailo. They've got to get that corrected. He deserves that block in the stat category, because that was a big-time defensive stop from Mihailo at the end of the first half. And that's, again, the spot where BYU, I thought, really started to take over this game. I thought BYU's defense, too, was really good in this game. Kansas State, a really good three-point shooting team. They go 3 of 21 from beyond the arc, and their only three-point make in the second half was from Bashir, who is an excellent three-point shooter, coming into the game shooting 48% from 3. He hit 1 in the second half, and it was off 1 foot. That was their only made 3. And if you're BYU or any team playing defense, you're like, you're hitting it off 1 foot, man. There's nothing else I can do. But you love, if you're Kevin Young, for a team to go 3 of 21 shooting the 3 ball. That happens against BYU. BYU is going to win every time. And K-State, that was one of the strengths of this team, was knocking down the 3 ball, especially with Bashir. And BYU pretty much erased that. Bashir had some success early, a little bit after the 16-minute timeout in the first half. He had already knocked down 2, and you're thinking, oh, man, it's going to be one of those days. It's going to be one of those nights where K-State's just filling it up in the octagon, but that got erased. Credit to BYU and their defense. And I was on the Manhattan pregame show leading up to the game, and I said that this BYU team is built differently than last year. They can win games on the defensive end this year. BYU can do that. It's still their MO is going to be on the offensive end. BYU is a high-powered offensive unit, but defensively, they're a top 20 team in adjusted efficiency in KenPom metrics this year. They've got the makeup of a team that's got Final Four potential on the defensive end, and they look really good on that spot. I think, again, to limit a team on their home floor in a night on a day where highly energetic crowd, sold out venue to only 14% from three. You love that if you're Kevin Young. You also love the contributions of Bidu Ahmed, the G League player. He comes in, gets 3 block shots. And you could tell in the game that Ahmed is still kind of trying to find his role, his place in this team, some of his footing. It hasn't gone smoothly yet. AJ had a lob to him on a pick and roll where he kind of lost his footing. He might have got tripped up in the first half, but BYU was targeting him. I mean, they were looking for him to help run this offense in the first half and in other spots in the second half as well. He got 2 back-to-back buckets, one of which was a putback slam. But what I was impressed with Ahmed is BYU has 2 excellent rim protectors with Keba Keita, obviously, and we'll get to Keba here shortly. But Ahmed gives you the feeling that there's no drop-off defending the rim when Keita needs a breather. Keba Keita, he plays 27 minutes. Only 27 minutes. He goes for 11 points and 16 boards and 2 blocks. And Ahmed gives you 3 blocks in 12 minutes. No drop-off at the 5 spot for BYU with Ahmed suddenly. And this is only game 2. And this is a guy that's still trying to kind of just figure out this team, work his way into the group, because before his debut on December 22nd, he practiced in about 2 practices. So you're talking about a guy that's just basically shown up. He's contributing. He's playing. Credit to Kevin Young and his background in the G League with getting familiar with working someone in quickly, and Ahmed being part of the G League, probably a guy that can process things a little bit quicker than a typical newcomer at the college game. I thought his contributions were pretty significant for this group, and it gives you the belief that this BYU team at the 5 spot, they are as deep as anyone in the Big 12, because Keita, if he only has to play 27 minutes, you love that. To navigate an 18-game Big 12 schedule, that guy's going to be fresh, and he's going to be ready for the postseason. Because sometimes when you've got aspirations like a team like BYU does, sometimes the war of attrition, players can get worn down, over usage, and only needing him 25 minutes, 27 minutes a game, that would be huge, a luxury for BYU. So I thought that was really promising. BYU's entire front court, I thought, was a real highlight of this game. If you can get those consistent contributions from Ahmed and Boscovich, that's going to be really exciting for this BYU team. I also liked some of the contributions that BYU in general. I thought that the way that they crashed the glass on the offensive rebounds, 16 offensive boards, 8 of which from Keba Keita. You love to see that. BYU getting second chance opportunities. That's big for BYU, and I think that was something that I took away from this game. That was a real promising sign for a BYU team that points per possession 1.107 on a day where you had 19 turnovers. Still, this group was able to navigate quite nicely on the road in the Big 12. Any Big 12 road win is a massive deal. It's a quad 1 victory, 4th quad 1 win for BYU this season. You can get these, that's big time. And BYU just showed that on the road in Manhattan. So huge day for BYU, I think, to get that victory and prove to 13-1 overall this season. Kennard Davis, 4 points, 1 of 5 from the field. I liked his contributions, though, on the glass. 6 rebounds from Moo Davis. He also had 3 assists. Look, he's going to be a steady guy. He's going to be a contributor that's not going to make many mistakes. He works off well with these superstars. When you've got a trio like BYU does that are superstars, not everyone in the starting 5 is going to put up eye-popping numbers, all of them. So you need someone like a Moo Davis that's willing to basically just do whatever it takes to contribute to the team. I still think that he's a better shooter than 1 of 5. When we've seen spots where Moo, go back to his return to the floor in Orlando in that MTE against Miami, where he was a guy that kind of helped BYU win the day against Miami. So he's got that ability, but he's also someone, too, that can do the little things that really helps the team win on the road in a tough environment, which, by the way, I think when BYU took control of the game at the end of the first half. The crowd being sold out, that kind of felt like a non-factor. We've seen Kansas State teams since BYU joined the Big 12 where that venue can really get hyped up and lead K-State to some big wins. I mean, Jerome Tang's squads, since that first year for Tang, where they reached the Elite Eight at Madison Square Garden, they've been kind of up and down ever since BYU joined the league, but they're still a tough out at home. Since BYU joined the conference, Kansas hasn't beat K-State in Manhattan the last handful of years, 3 years. So that is a tough place to play. BYU's first ever win in Manhattan against Kansas State. So that's a quality victory for the Cougars. Next up will be Wednesday, January 7th against Arizona State. A little bit different cadence this year with Big 12 schedule. You know, in years past, it's been Saturday, then Tuesday. I like the Saturday-Wednesday format for the schedule. It reminds me of the old Mountain West days for BYU basketball. Remember the years with Jimmer Fredette when they had a Saturday-Wednesday cadence? I like that because you get enough breathing room. You don't have to worry so much about a quick turnaround because those sort of things always matter to me when you're talking about BYU, when you have a day like Sunday where nothing can take place. So that's always something that's of note, where you're going to be on this Saturday-Wednesday schedule for quite some time until at least the end of the month when BYU has a big Monday game against Arizona on January 26th, but a lot of Wednesday contests this year in the Big 12. And then next Saturday, BYU takes on Utah at the Huntsman Center, and Utah's getting they're struggling right now against Arizona, I believe, at home in the Huntsman Center, the number one team in the country. But big win for the Cougars. I feel pretty good about where this team's at right now. I think they should move up in the national rankings. Last night, Gonzaga struggled against Seattle. I would put BYU above Gonzaga in the AP Top 25. If I had a vote, I would move them up. I think they should be a single digit next to their name with how good this team is. To have a 10-game win streak, first time since 2011, this is a really good squad, and they're led by maybe the nation's best player in A.J. Dybantsa, who just, again, kind of a pedestrian night by A.J. standards, but he still shows that impact, his length. There was a stretch there where, what was it, he had in the first half where he altered a shot, led a fast break. AJ's impact goes beyond even the stats. His presence on the floor, you have to account for him at all times. The moves that he makes, that hesitation in the corner move, brilliant. That had Haggerty kind of stopped in his tracks a little bit, and AJ gets to the rim. So tough matchup for anyone in the Big 12 to try to defend A.J. Dybantsa. But that's going to do it for this edition of a post-game reaction. BYU takes down Kansas State 83-73. The Cougs are back in action on Wednesday night against Arizona State in the Big 12 home opener. Tip-off at 7, pregame at 6 on KSL NewsRadio. We'll have coverage inside the Marriott Center on KSLSports.com and here on the Cougar Tracks podcast with post-game reactions. Make sure to like this video on YouTube and subscribe to Cougar Tracks wherever you get your podcast. Talk to you next time here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSL Sports.